My stepmother acted as if she loved us for a number of years while simultaneously spewing her venom on the internet. My family was shattered when I revealed her, and my sister's sadness went into a downward spiral as a result. Over the course of the past year, I have been completing my master's degree in psychology while residing with my father, who is 52 years old, and my stepmother, Diane, who is 45 years old. My parents had a divorce when I was 10 years old, and my father married Diane when I was 16 years old. I have two younger siblings, Alex, who is 19 years old, and Sophie, who is 17 years old. In addition, Diane and my father have a baby named Ethan who is 4 years old. My impression of Diane was that she was quite awesome when I was growing up. She appeared to make an effort with us children, and I never had the impression that she handled us in a manner that was distinct from how she treated Ethan. Sure, there were some awkward moments as we all adjusted to each other's presence, but on the whole, I felt fortunate to have a stepmother who appeared to care about me. Despite the fact that we are no longer together, our family has always been quite close. The fact that my mother and father were able to keep their relationship amicable for the benefit of our children is evidenced by the fact that we frequently held large family reunions that included both sides. By bringing her famous apple pie to Thanksgiving every year and organizing Secret Santa for Christmas, Diane appeared to be a natural fit in the group. The moment when my father introduced us to Diane is one that I will never forget. At the age of 14, I was still trying to come to terms with the breakup of my parents' marriage. She never forced us to accept her, but she made it quite obvious that she was always there to us in the event that we required her assistance. Diane was patient and compassionate. In addition to bringing us small presents, she would also bring a book that she felt I would enjoy, a new video game for Alex, and painting supplies for Sophie. It seemed sincere, as if she was genuinely interested in establishing a connection with us. As we grew older, Diane evolved into someone who was more like a friend. Not only would she offer me guidance on boys in school, but she would also assist Alex with his college applications and engage in time-consuming craft activities with Sophie. I had concerns that things could change once Ethan was born, but Diane went out of her way to ensure that we continued to feel included in the family. Although I was using Diane's laptop to print things for school, I noticed that she was still connected into her email account. This occurred the week before. The notification from a parenting forum appeared just as I was going to close it. After allowing my curiosity to get the better of me, I decided to click on it. The things that I discovered shook me to my very core. Diane was airing her frustrations about how much she disliked us stepchildren on this forum, where she had been posting on a consistent basis for years. Having to deal with us was a source of frustration for her, and she expressed her eagerness for Alex and Sophie to finish their move. The drama that Sophie was involved in was ridiculed for being so tiresome. As a result of Alex's lack of motivation and laziness, Sophie has been struggling with anxiety and sadness ever since she was in middle school. On the other hand, the posts related to me were the worst. On many occasions, Diane expressed her belief that I was engaged in deceptive behavior and was attempting to create a rift between her and my father. Her accusation was that I had purposefully excluded her, and she also stated that I was excessively possessive with my father. Even more than that, she made the assumption that there was something wrong about our relationship due to the fact that I occasionally hug my father or lean on him while I am watching television. At the end of reading it all, I felt sick. During this entire time, I was under the impression that we had a good connection, but it turns out that Diane has had a deep-seated hatred for us for many years. From the beginning, she has been putting on a show for everyone. As I continued to browse, I came across posts that were from just a few months earlier, when I had moved back into the house. In spite of the fact that I paid at the expense of groceries and utilities, Diane never stopped complaining about the presence of an adult who was a freeloader in the house. She said that I was stifling Ethan's growth by taking up all of the attention that was available to him. It has left me in utter disbelief, and I have no idea what to do. There is a part of me that wants to confront Diane, but I am concerned that doing so will only make the situation even more difficult. Although it was an accident at first, I still feel awful about poking around. Should I tell my father, or should I inform my siblings? I am concerned that I may end up upsetting the dynamic of our entire family, but at the same time I feel like I cannot pretend that I am unaware of this information. Having this information regarding Diane's feelings toward us, what is the appropriate way for me to deal with her at this point? In my thoughts, I keep going over all of our interactions, and I can't help but wonder whether I somehow failed to notice the warning flags. Is it true that Diane has been that talented of an actor all these years? On the other hand, did something happen in her that caused her to resent us so much? In the context of this discussion, Diane has always appeared to be somewhat insecure in her role as stepmother. In the beginning of her relationship with my father, she made a concerted effort to form a connection with my siblings and me. Perhaps there are times when it is way too difficult to arrange extravagant family vacations or to purchase pricey presents for us. There was some tension as a result of the fact that my mother was not delighted about it. It was around the time that I was 17 years old that I remember a specific occurrence. All of us were going to be surprised with a trip to Disney World, which Diane had organized for us all. In addition to my mother. She believed that it would be an excellent way for everyone to get to know one another better, but my mother did not feel comfortable with the idea and declined, which resulted in a significant disagreement between her and her father. The news left Diane feeling devastated, and I can't help but wonder whether it was a defining moment for her. Diane slowly withdrew from the situation as we grew older. It was actually to my satisfaction that she did not attempt to impose a motherly role on us and instead allowed us room. Now that I think about it, I wonder whether that was just her genuine emotions coming out. The statements that were made about Sophie have particularly outraged me. Over the course of the past few years, my sister has been experiencing difficulties with her mental health. She was diagnosed with anxiety and depression when she was 15 years old, and the journey has been a challenging one. Diane has always given the impression of being helpful, as evidenced by the fact that she has accompanied Sophie to her therapy appointments, conducted research on various methods of coping, and even initiated a mental health support group at her church. It breaks my heart to learn that she in fact considers Sophie's condition to be a play. I will never forget the several evenings that Diane would sit with Sophie, simply holding her hand and assisting her in breathing, while she was experiencing panic episodes. Did you just put on a bad show? Considering it makes me feel nauseous. Another thing that has me perplexed is the allegations that have been made concerning my connection with my father. We've always had a strong relationship. I would freely admit that I am a little bit of a daddy's girl. However, there is not a single item here that might be considered incorrect. There are many things that my father and I have in common. We both share a passion for science fiction films, love going on hikes, and engage in passionate discussions about political issues. That Diane had a problem with it was something I had never considered before. The notion that Alex is a slacker is something that truly irritates me as well. As a result of the challenges he faced throughout his time in high school, my brother decided to take a gap year before enrolling in community college. In addition to attempting to figure out what he wants to do with his life, he has been working part-time at a local bike shop. In addition to assisting him in researching other job paths, Diane constantly gave off an encouraging vibe. By all appearances, however, she simply considers him to be a slacker. Right now, I'm attempting to determine whether or not I ought to communicate something to my siblings. Alex continues to reside at home, and Sophie spends the most of her time there when she is not at her mother's house. In what way does Diane feel about them, and do they deserve to know? Or would telling them merely force them to experience agony that is not necessary? Despite the fact that I just have a few months left in my program, and getting moved would be a tremendous inconvenience, there is a part of me that wants to pack up and leave right away. Ethan and my brothers would be devastated if I were to forsake them. Because Diane has been putting on this farce for so many years, I am so angry at her. I had faith in her and considered her a member of my family. At this point, I have the impression that this entire relationship was built on lies. What are the next steps for me to take from here? Now that I've read it, I can't stop hearing it. On the other hand, it seems counterintuitive to blow up my family. I am at a loss for words and may benefit from any guidance on how to deal with this situation. The most frustrating aspect is that I can't stop thinking about all of the times when I believed we were becoming closer to one another. Something similar to the time when Diane instructed me on how to create her famous apple pie. When she assisted me in selecting the dress I would wear to the prom, was she clenching her teeth the entire time, feeling resentment for each and every moment that she was able to spend with me? I find myself questioning everything as a result. When it comes to Ethan, I am also concerned. As a result of his deep affection for his elder siblings, he is constantly eager to engage and play with Alex, or to have Sophie tell him stories. How much longer will it take before Diane's animosity begins to have an effect on him? Would she make an effort to deceive him against us? I have the impression that I am harboring a very large secret, and it is consuming me on the inside. Every single interaction that I have with Diane now feels forced and artificial. I'm terrified that I'll lose my cool and become hostile toward her in front of everyone. It is made even more difficult by the fact that I am currently studying psychology. I should be better prepared to deal with the drama that is occurring within my family. When it comes to my own family, however, all of my training will be rendered useless. I am in desperate need of some guidance on how to go with this situation. Do I confront Diane about this? Let my father know. Do you want me to keep it to myself and make an effort to move out as quickly as possible? I have the impression that there is no viable alternative here. There are only varied degrees of badness. Recent developments 1. It has been around 1 week since my last post, and a great deal has transpired since then. All of the support and guidance that I have received from everyone is very much appreciated. After several days of worrying about it, I finally came to the conclusion that I needed to inform my father what I discovered. Even though it would have an effect on our entire family, it didn't feel right to hide this knowledge from him. After leaving the house, I requested my father to meet me for coffee outside of the house. His reaction was one of complete shock when I informed him about Diane's hidden forum account. At first, he did not believe what I was saying. There must be some sort of mistake, he insisted over and over again. The color left his face, however, when I showed him screenshots that I had taken at the time. Dad was angry with rage. He was unable to comprehend the fact that Diane had been keeping these emotions to herself for such a long time without ever broaching the subject with him. Particularly irritated by the remarks made about Sophie and me, he was agitated. Over the course of several hours, we discussed all that I had discovered. A great number of inquiries were directed toward Dad concerning particular occurrences that Diane had highlighted. Her account of the events was, in many instances, a stark contrast to the actual events that took place. In order to portray us children in a terrible light, she had twisted circumstances that were really innocent. Specifically, there was one occurrence that stood out. A photo album that I had created and filled with photographs of our family over the years was the present that I had given to Diane for Christmas the previous year. It appeared as though she was moved, and she even shed a few tears. Nevertheless, she expressed her dissatisfaction with the fact that I had purposefully selected photographs in which she appeared unattractive or was absent from the group. It seemed as though we had been through two unrelated occurrences for the first time. Dad was resolved to face Diane by the time our chat came to a close. It was his assertion that he needed answers and that he could not proceed without addressing this matter. Dad requested that Diane have a private conversation once we arrived at our house. I brought Ethan to the park so that they could have some space to themselves. Upon my return a few hours later, I found that the atmosphere in the house had become very strained. Diane initially attempted to minimize everything, claiming that it was just her way of venting and that it did not accurately reflect her thoughts, according to my father. However, she became defensive and indignant when her father exerted pressure on her on particular posts. As a result of her accusation that I had invaded her privacy, she attempted to turn the situation against me. In the end, Diane revealed that she has been struggling with feelings of bitterness toward us when we were stepchildren for many years. However, then, rather than confronting these sentiments head-on, she chose to bottle them up and vent them online. She stated that she felt like an outsider in her own family and that she was jealous of our closeness with. In order to comprehend everything and figure out how to go, Dad told Diane that he needs some time. He urged her to spend some time with her sister so that everyone could have some space to themselves. Since yesterday afternoon, Diane has been gone. After everything has been brought to light, I feel a sense of relief, but I am also sad and anxious about what lies ahead. Dad looks to be confused. I can tell that he is having a hard time reconciling the Diane that he believed he knew with the part of her that everyone is keeping hidden. At long last, I broke the news to Alex and Sophie how things were going. Alex was irate, but he was not completely taken aback by the news. He stated that he had always felt some underlying tension with Diane, but he was unable to pinpoint what it was they were experiencing. Sophie was utterly heartbroken. Diane is someone she looked up to, and she feels a profound sense of betrayal. For some reason, Sophie brought up a memory that made my heart hurt. Just the two of them went on a weekend trip together the year before, when she was going through a very difficult time with her depression. Diane had taken her on this excursion. Sophie remarked that it was one of the most enjoyable weekends of her life, having the sensation that she had at long last found a mother who understood her. Currently, she is pondering whether or not any of it was genuine. Currently, we are all making an effort to provide support for one another. Dad is doing an excellent job, ensuring that we are aware that none of this is due to our actions. In addition to this, he is making arrangements for Sophie to meet with her therapist on a more regular basis in order to digest everything. It is difficult for me to predict what the future holds for our family. Some part of me is hoping that Diane and Dad can resolve their differences through the process of counseling. In spite of this, a larger portion of the people feel that the trust has been irreparably damaged. What are the chances that we will ever feel at ease in her presence again, given that we are aware of her genuine emotions? At the moment, we are taking things one day at a time. My father has stated that his first objective is to ensure that we children feel secure and supported. Moving forward, he has committed to practicing greater vigilance with regard to the dynamics of our family. Regarding everything, I am still working through my own feelings related to it. I experience a range of emotions, including rage, grief, and numbness. Although I am making an effort to concentrate on completing my degree and being there for my siblings, it is difficult for me to avoid thinking about all of the years that I have been intentionally misleading them. When it comes to the whereabouts of his mother, Ethan is beginning to inquire about it. When I see him in a state of confusion, it hurts my heart. Despite the fact that his father has been great with him, it is obvious that Ethan is aware of the tension that exists in the family. In the event that there are any significant developments, I will provide another update. In this trying moment, I would like to express my gratitude once more to each of you for your support and wisdom. Recent developments too. A little over a month has passed since the last time I updated this. I felt it was important to share the current situation because a lot of things have transpired. It appears that Diane is continuing to reside with her sister. There has been some discussion between her and my father, but there has not been a definitive conclusion as of yet. As far as Dad is concerned, he is still attempting to make sense of things and determine whether or not there is any further hope. Although the initial shock has gone off for us children, we are all still hurting in our own unique ways during this process. As a result of Alex's overcommitment to his profession, he now rarely returns home. Both Sophie's anxiety and despair have returned to their previous levels. Due to the fact that she is having difficulty in school, she spends the majority of her time in her room. I have been making an effort to take charge and be there for everyone, but it is exhausting despite my best efforts. Due to the fact that I am attempting to maintain harmony and provide support for my family while simultaneously coping with my own feelings, I have the impression that I am continuously walking cautiously. The lack of is something that Ethan is profoundly feeling. It has been reported to his mother that he has been experiencing nightmares and behaving out at preschool. When it comes to him, Dad has been incredible. Ethan, however, is able to perceive the tension that exists within the house. During the previous week, Diane reached out to me and requested a one-on-one meeting appointment. Despite my better judgment, I went ahead and agreed. We got together at a coffee shop that was completely neutral, and it was about as awkward as you would anticipate it to be. In the beginning, Diane expressed her deepest apologies. She stated that she had no intention of causing harm to anyone, and that the posts she made were merely a means of expressing her feelings of insecurity. He made an effort to explain that she had always had the impression that she was an outsider in our family, and that she was unable to find a healthy method to deal with those sentiments. Especially considering that she had never intended to have children of her own, she opened up on how difficult it was for her to suddenly become a stepmother to 3 children. She stated that she was under continual pressure to be perfect and to live up to the ideal of the attractive stepmother that she believed we desired. The revelations that Diane made regarding her own background helped provide some clarity on the manner in which she behaved. Apparently she was raised in a family that was quite dysfunctional, and her mother was emotionally abusive to her parents. Due to the fact that she was never taught how to communicate her emotions in a constructive manner, she repressed all she felt and eventually vented her frustrations online. It was important to me to hear what she had to say. Nevertheless, to tell you the truth, it was difficult to take her apologies sincerely. How can you claim to love someone while at the same time using the internet to publicly criticize them for years? I conveyed to Diane that although I am grateful for her apologies, I do not believe that I will ever be able to trust her completely again. During our conversation, which lasted for almost 1 hour, we discussed a few of the specific situations that she had posted about. There were other instances in which her recollection of events was entirely dissimilar to the actual events that took place. In her mind, she had constructed a story that was not in line with the events that actually took place. It was transparent. One particular occurrence stood out. In a post, Diane explained that I had purposefully left her out of the celebration of my college graduation. In point of fact, I had explicitly requested that my father make certain that Diane was present, and I had even presented her with a unique bonus mom card as a way of expressing my gratitude for her continuous support. Diane appeared to be genuinely perplexed when I brought this to her attention. It was as if she had completely changed the recollection in her head. I was exhausted by the time our chat was over, but I also felt a sense of relief emerging from it. I was able to release some of the hurt and anger that I had been experiencing, which was a very therapeutic experience for me. Although Diane appeared to be sincerely sorry for her actions, I am not certain that this is sufficient to reverse years of lying. I informed my father about the meeting once it had concluded. It was relieved that we were able to have a conversation, but he advised me not to get my expectations up about a problem that may be solved quickly. With regard to the future of their relationship, he stated that he and Diane have a lot of things to work out before any decisions can be made. At the moment, we are all merely attempting to construct a new standard of living. Dad has been incredible during all of this, making sure that each and every one of us was made to feel loved and supported. In an effort to provide Ethan with some degree of consistency, he has been spending substantial amounts of time with him. I have made the decision to lengthen my stay at home beyond the graduation date in order to assist with the children and provide care for my father. Family is the most important thing right now, even though it's not perfect. In order to provide Alex and Sophie with the stability they require, I want to be there for them. Sophie has recently begun seeing a new therapist who specializes in treating trauma that occurs within families. It seems to be of some assistance. She is gradually emerging from her room more and has even begun painting once more, which has always been her way of relaxing and releasing her stress. In an effort to maintain as much of a normal routine as possible for Ethan, Alex and I have been working hard. We have been taking him on activities such as going to the park and the zoo. In the middle of all the stress at home, I am making an effort to plan some enjoyable activities for him. My anger toward Diane has not subsided, but I am making an effort to channel that energy toward healing and moving on with my life. It is unknown at this time if she will continue to be a part of our lives in the long run. My current strategy is to simply take things one day at a time and make every effort to be there for my family as much as I possibly can. Because of everything that has happened, I have been thinking about my own future relationships and the possibility of being a stepparent. My eyes have been open to the fact that blended families may be really complicated, despite the fact that I always thought I knew the issues themselves. I would want to express my appreciation to my friends and extended family for their assistance during this difficult period. Having a robust support system that extends beyond your immediate family has been brought to your attention in a jarring way by this event. As for what comes after that, I can honestly say that I have no idea. Although Dad and Diane are scheduled to begin couples counseling the following week, I am making an effort not to get my hopes up about the outcome of the situation. The only thing that we are all concentrating on right now is getting better and going on with our lives, regardless of how that may appear.